Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be continuing our discussion of humanity in the Imperium, picking up with Psychers. Psychers are humans, but humans who differ from the normal run of mankind in that they possess a strange and dangerous mutation. They manifest psychic powers. This mutation reflects a general trend amongst humanity and is becoming increasingly common, presaging the emergence of a new, psychically aware race. The mutation usually develops between the ages of 10 and 20, although it has been known for Psychers to emerge during infancy or even middle age. On the countless different worlds of the Imperium, Psychers are known by many names, and their role in society varies greatly. On feral worlds, they are shamans or magicians. On medieval worlds, witches or warlocks. Amongst more sophisticated societies, telepaths or mediums. By whatever name they are known, they are both a threat and a boon to the Imperium. Psychers represent humanity's future, the ideal creature into which mankind will evolve. A more powerful, more intelligent, and more capable life form. However, as yet, the new race is weak, its members lacking the mental strength needed to face the dangers of the psychic universe. For there are many psychically attuned creatures living either in the galaxy or within the strange, fluid medium of warp space. Some feed upon psychic energy itself, others prey upon all of humanity, using Psychers as the vehicles by which they infiltrate human society. The most dangerous of all are entities which can travel through space, homing into the mind of a Psycher and coming to rest within his personality and, in effect, taking him over. Were the new race of Psychers permitted to develop free and unprotected, the whole of humanity would soon be destroyed. For this reason, the forces of the Imperium ensure that Psychers are tracked down by whatever means necessary. Once detected, they must be protected. Those strong enough to stand alone will be recruited into the Adeptus Terra, the army, or other Imperial service. Of the remainder, the most able will receive the protection of the Emperor and join the ranks of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica. The rest are doomed to serve their fellow man as members of the Adeptus Astronomica, or as the nourishment for the Emperor himself. Death may seem a harsh form of protection, but is often the only alternative. Even those protected by the Emperor are not 100% safe, and his powers are too precious to waste on any but the most deserving. The Adeptus Mechanicus is the guardian body of Earth's ancient technological past. Its ranks comprise thousands of servants, researchers, and technicians entrusted with knowledge of the commonly feared old science. Whilst the more senior ranks are permitted to experiment and revise their inheritance, the mundane task of conducting those routine functions which successfully maintain the status quo are the preserve of the Technomats. Technomats do not require any special training because all their knowledge is implanted directly onto their cerebellum by means of a conductive mesh called an electrograft. The electrograft completely changes the recipient's personality and memory. This has the effect of enforcing the Technomat's loyalty, as well as programming the servant with selected information. Unfortunately, the electrografts tend to degenerate in time, causing memory loss, personality disorders, and even mental breakdown. The Adeptus Astra Telepathica. Psychers are vigorously controlled by the Imperium. Some may escape detection, but the vast majority are fated to serve the Imperium in one way or another. Many are given up to the Emperor as sustenance, whilst countless others are executed because they are too dangerous to live. The remainder are recruited into the Imperial organization in some way, but only a tiny proportion of the very best are judged strong enough to survive without some form of psychic protection. So, psychers can be found throughout the Adeptus Terra, the Inquisition, the legions Astartes, the army, and the fleet. However, over 90% of psychers in Imperial service are members of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica, commonly known as Astropaths. Astropaths are created from those psychers who have considerable powers, but who are not mentally strong enough to withstand the attentions of psychically attuned warp creatures. Were they simply allowed to develop without interference, they would quickly find themselves in serious trouble, endangering the rest of humanity as well as themselves. However, the Imperium has a use for them. An astropath is an astro-telepath, an individual capable of communicating with others of his kind over vast interstellar distances. In the age of the Imperium, where worlds are light years apart, this is the only practical means of communication. For this reason, the network of astropaths is very important to the Imperium, and every spacecraft, research station, outpost, etc. has its own astropath. Even small planets need hundreds of these useful servants, while larger worlds may have thousands, and Earth itself is home to tens of thousands. All astropaths undergo a special process which molds their powers, and at the same time strengthens them against psychic danger. This is called the soul-binding ritual, and only the Emperor has the power to perform it. It takes place in the Great Palace, where the psychers are led before the Emperor 100 at a time. Knelt before the Emperor, they must endure several hours of agony, whilst the Emperor uses his powers to reshape their minds, mingling a little of his immeasurable power with their own. Unfortunately, the Emperor's mind is so powerful that not all candidates survive the ritual. Some are driven insane, and all have their personalities altered to some extent. The raw energy of the Emperor's will also has another effect. So powerful are the forces involved that many of the more delicate nerves can be damaged, especially the optic nerves. Consequently, all astropaths are blind, whilst many may also lack any sense of smell, touch, or hearing. The Adeptus Astra Telepathica is a vast organization whose central administrative core is based on Earth. It exists purely to serve the needs of the Imperium. Its leaders have no task to perform other than ensuring the network operates as smoothly and efficiently as possible. Because of their very nature, astropaths often work in cooperation cooperation with the other branches of the Adeptus Terra, the Inquisition, Fleet, Army, and Imperial commanders. Every priesthood temple would have its own staff of Astropaths, relaying and receiving the messages of their masters, gathering and disseminating information throughout the galaxy. Astropaths carry no equipment as a rule. Their ability to use most types of equipment is hindered by the fact that they are blind, but they do carry a long white stick or staff. One of the abilities gained during the soul binding is near sense, an awareness that allows the Astropath to detect nearby objects, to sense, if not exactly see, the world around him. Some Astropaths have mechanical eyes connected directly into their brains, but this is not common. Few Astropaths have the money or influence to restore their sight. Astropaths wear a hooded robe or habit, belted at the waist. Personal possessions are kept in a sling bag, often ornamented with religious motifs. The color adopted by Astropaths as a symbol of their status is green, although a robe will often incorporate several shades of the color, ranging from pale near gray to almost black. Navigators. Navigators are mutants of a very special kind, and although their appearance can vary a great deal, they always have the power to navigate through warp space. Although this is a psychic ability, navigators never have other psychic powers, and are no more vulnerable to psychically attuned warp creatures than any normal human. The origin of navigators goes back to the dark age of technology, to a time of genetic experimentation, when many hundreds of kinds of mutants were engineered to fulfill roles envisaged by their creators. Whether navigators were created deliberately or by accident matters little in the age of the Imperium. They are a fact of life and an important resource. The mutation is a consistent one and is passed down from generation to generation. The gene is only transferable when both parents are navigators, so navigators tend to intermarry, forming a number of powerful and influential navigator families. These families are mostly resident on Earth. There is no imperial control over navigators, and many pursue civilian careers as traders. Most gravitate into the ranks of the imperial network, however, for these families have a long history of service to humanity. Many past masters of the Adeptus Terra have come from their ranks, and they occupy positions throughout the Imperium as members of the priesthood, Inquisition, Army, Fleet, etc. It is in the fleet that their powers can be put to full use, working aboard spacecraft as warp pilots. The physical appearance of navigators can vary a great deal, although families tend to resemble each other. Some are identical to ordinary humans and cannot be told apart. However, there is a tendency for navigators to be tall and spindly, and their flesh may have a peculiar transparent quality, which is rather disturbing. Eyes may be extremely large and may lack the iris, while other facial features are often small and underdeveloped. Hands and feet can appear ridiculously large and are frequently webbed. Body hair is commonly absent altogether. Only an extreme form of navigator would exhibit all of these characteristics, but most have some traits. Navigators are more of a subspecies than an organization. and they can be found throughout the Adeptus Terra and other Imperial bodies. However, each family is very close and often very large, and different families are often allied by marriage. As such, the family organization can be very important, and a navigator may feel entitled to call upon a relative to pull a few strings where possible. Conversely, some families are deadly rivals, and open hostilities away from Earth are not infrequent. Navigators are individuals, and the equipment they carry will reflect their personal fortune and success as much as anything. Navigators from the more influential families would be on the whole more wealthy and better equipped. Those in Imperial service would be equipped accordingly, of course. Navigators wear civilian clothes, but, as they spend a great deal of time in space, often wear a sealed suit. Their weapons reflect their environment, too. Powerful blasting weapons could easily damage a spacecraft and are generally avoided. The most convenient weapon to carry, and thus a weapon typically used by the navigator, is the laser pistol. Navigators are not usually fighters by inclination. The lot of the independent navigator is typified by our friend Lustrum Locarno. Lustrum has been traveling the spaceways for a decade. Although 27, he looks far older. Years of deep space travel often cause premature aging. Like most spacers, he wears a sealed suit, the helmet of which is fully equipped with auto senses. He packs a standard laser pistol in a conspicuous holster, and another one less obviously tucked into his right boot. His remaining boot is home to a knife. Aside from the communicator built into his helmet, he has another in one of his suit pockets. The Legion's Astartes. The Legion's Astartes is the official title of the warrior organization more commonly known as the Space Marines. It is the most powerful and most feared fighting arm in the Imperium. Most of its troopers are recruited from the feral planets, where traditional warrior castes compete for the honor of becoming a warrior of the gods. Because the feral planets are rough, primitive, and untamed, their inhabitants make excellent fighting material. For true aggression and psychotic killer instinct, however, few recruits can best the murderous followers of the city scum that roam the darkest pits of the hive worlds. Driven to extremes of insanity by the colossal pressures of hive world living, these merciless killers are usually ignored by the authorities. Indeed, these warrens are so vast it would be impractical to eradicate them completely. They make ideal space marines, and whole gangs of city scum are sometimes hunted and captured for this purpose. Some recruits come from the civilized areas of the Imperium, but not very many. Young recruits are subjected to many hours of intensive training and indoctrination, leading to physical and mental changes. Their bodies are toughened by biochem, and their resolve is hardened by psychosurgery. A special black plastic carapace is merged with their natural flesh, forming a sort of identity tag, as well as permanent protection. All of this preparation is intended to turn the prospective Marine into a disciplined killer, or at least a controllable one. The Space Marines differ from the ordinary army in many respects. Its organizational base and mode of operation are totally different, The basic unit, called a chapter, is led by its own Imperial commander. Each chapter is like a small army in itself, and although it contains only 1,000 fighting Marines, the chapter has the fighting potential of many times that number of ordinary troops. Chapters have their own uniforms, transport, non-combat staff, etc., and are fully capable of traveling to their destination using their own spacecraft. Because they are mobile, the Space Marines are usually the first troops to arrive at a scene of conflict, and they are used to mount strikes, raids, and surprise attacks. Their reputation for savage ferocity and complete lack of mercy has earned them the nickname Angels of Death. Each chapter has a home base, which may be an Imperial planet, or possibly a deserted moon or asteroid. Some chapters go to great lengths to keep the location of their home base a secret, whilst others are quite open. The preferred location is an Imperial planet, where the chapter's leader will usually make a bargain with the planet's governor, paying a tithe in return for being allowed to build and occupy their own fortresses. Governors often appreciate having a Marine chapter right on their doorstep. It certainly discourages unwelcome visitors. And they shall know no fear. Marines belonging to the same chapter are called Battle Brothers or Battle Kin. Each chapter comprises administrative staff, maintenance teams, transport teams, and about 1,000 Space Marines. Each chapter is led by a veteran Marine with the rank of Imperial Commander. The warriors themselves are divided into fighting squads of 10 troopers, each led by a sergeant. 10 such squads make up a company led by a captain. Non-combatant staff perform all the support roles and are organized accordingly into mechanics, spacecraft crew, etc. Each chapter has its own associated Astropaths and Navigators. Medical and communications officers are organized at chapter level, but operate as individuals on the battlefield, corresponding to minor heroes. Each chapter would have between 4 and 8 medical officers and communications officers. Each of the 1,000 chapters has its own history, rituals, and traditions. Many have been in existence since the age of the Imperium began, and their names are associated with legendary battles and heroic deeds. Each chapter has its own banners, and some chapters even take them into battle, although this is becoming less common. Chapter leaders frequently have their own banners, especially if they come from worlds where such things are usual, and these too may be carried into battle. Individual chapter commanders are free to organize or augment their regular troops in any way they see fit, and a variety of musical instruments may be brought into the fray. The Marines' favored weapon is the bolt gun, preferably with some sort of close combat fighting accessory such as an axe blade. In addition, all Marines carry a long knife or short sword, and most employ a bolt pistol as well. Heavy weapons and other specialist equipment are evenly spread throughout each company. Occasionally, a chapter leader may wish to instigate the formation of heavy weapons companies, but this is rare. Such a company would be formed from the weapon teams normally distributed throughout the 10 companies of a chapter. The Space Marines wear a standard form of armor, which, although varying in appearance a great deal, is basically the same for each chapter. This corresponds to power armor as described in the armor profiles. The suit helmet includes auto senses, communicator, and respirators. The suit is totally insulated from the atmosphere and functions as a space suit, as well as battle armor. A typical Marine squad comprises a sergeant, 2 special weapons Marines, and 7 others, total 10. The sergeant and ordinary Marines are equipped with a knife, a bolt pistol, and a bolt gun. The 2 special weapons Marines have no bolt gun, but instead substitute a flamer or graviton gun for one, and missile launcher or beamer or heavy bolter for the other. All are equipped with power armor, including built-in communicator and auto senses. Specialist staff. Specialist combat staff are essentially medical and communications officers. These are equipped in the same way as standard Marines, but carry additional equipment appropriate for their job. Medics carry a bioscanner, immune, medipack, rad counter, stimulant, and web solvents. 2 suspensors are usually carried to negate the move penalty associated with the medipack. Communications personnel carry the same equipment as the ordinary Marines, plus energy scanner, bioscanner, infravision visor, which operates through the normal helmet auto senses, and a high-powered communicator with a range of 320 kilometers and associated move penalty of 1 1/2 inch. This is offset by 3 suspensors. Each chapter has its own distinctive variation of the basic Marine power armor. Armor is fabricated by the chapter's own weaponsmiths, who are not above embellishment and improvisation. Marines also consider it a matter of honor to acquire trophies in the form of equipment, armor, and even weapons from their conquered enemies. This tends to give the Marines a non-standard appearance, although in reality their basic equipment is the same. Nevertheless, an appropriate uniform of sorts exists for each chapter, although often this will specify nothing more than an overall color, or distinguishing badge. Color is the main identifying mark. There are 1,000 Marine chapters, so it would be impractical to list all of their uniforms and idiosyncrasies. The White Scars, for example, wear white armor, the Blood Drinkers wear a dark reddish-brown, and the Dark Angels wear only black. The Crimson Fists have red glove armor. Other chapters have colors with no relevance to their names. Additional distinctive uniform features may arise from the particular initiation rites of each chapter. For example, the White Scars bear the long facial scar running from forehead to chin, whilst the Iron Hands have their right hands replaced with a robotic limb. Uniforms are also decorated with runes and devices, often traditional within a chapter. A selection of these decorative emblems are illustrated below. In most chapters, sergeants are distinguished by stripes of office, but these can vary in design and positioning, often according to the wearer's taste. Battle standards reflect insignia, and often have some relevance to the chapter's name. The banner and badge of the Space Wolves, for example, illustrates the head of a snarling wolf. The Dark Angels carry a black banner, and the Crimson Fists have a clenched fist device. The chart below summarizes the main color, banner, and badge for 11 Space Marine chapters. As there are 1,000 such chapters in the Imperium, it would be futile trying to list them all. So, gamers should feel free to invent their own. Blood Angels, red. Blood Drinkers, red-brown. Crimson Fists, blue and red. Dark Angels, black. Flesh Eaters, red. Flesh Terrors, black. Iron Hands, black. Rainbow Warriors, multicolored. Silver Skulls, steel. Space Wolves, gray. Ultramarines, blue. White Scars, white. The tactics adopted will vary according to the situation faced. If the situation demands a headlong rush, the Marines are always willing, for they desire nothing more than to lay down their lives for the gods of battle. The basic 10-man squad is the main element in any battle, but can prove unwieldy in small skirmishes. In these situations, it is usual for the unit to split into 2 groups of 5, often before the actual fighting starts. Each 5-man group can be regarded as a separate unit, and each can be split further if desired. And with that, we are going to bring this video to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I am going to be moving soon, within the next 2 months or so. Hopefully I'll be able to tamp down on background noise, but we will see. I also plan on expanding my production capability. I will be able to shoot actual videos instead of slideshows, as I've been doing. I plan on acquiring binaural microphones, but that will depend on whether or not I can afford it. So, I have plans. I just hope I can see them through. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.